One of the pledges made on Sunday's Global Citizen Festival came from the World Bank. The bank's president, Jim Yong Kim, announced the organization will invest $1 billion into health and education projects across Africa. Kim delivered a lecture, at Wits University. Khaya Khumalo was there, and he joins us now in studio. So, Khaya, what does Kim actually feel about the state of South Africa's economy?
Well, Shahani was very quiet, very outspoken about the very battles in terms of the economy of South Africa is facing. For example, he's talking about the issue of infrastructure. He's saying as much as we do focus a lot on mega infrastructure, but there appears to be a wrong focus. We tend to go for outdated stuff as opposed to, for example, going for broadband, trying to focus a lot on issues that will promote the fourth industrial revolution. So that's an issue that he really focused on. And maybe if we can just take a look to what he said.
I worry about it in Africa because every head of state I've ever seen says, we're on the path to industrialization. We want to build infrastructure for industrialization. But if that's not a path that's open, what is the right infrastructure? So almost for sure, broadband is right. I'm worried about the very high costs. South Africa has the second highest cost of broadband access in Africa. That shouldn't be. There are ways to bring the cost down.
Yeah, it's interesting. So inequality and poverty are some of the major challenges facing South Africa and other countries on the continent. How does he feel about the fourth industrial revolution and how it's going to address this?
So very persistent challenges, and he was very quite, he stated in no uncertain terms that, you know, we need a paradigm shift in terms of the focus, how we think as countries, as South Africa and many other peers, developing countries, in particular, where you still have a lot of, perennial challenges. So in terms of that, Shahan, he spoke at length about how, for example, we need to have these digital economies and also foster very resilient societies, but also be able to educate the nation. Once again, let's take a listen to him.
The actual brain volume of stunted children is as much as 40% less than non-stunted children. These children are locked inside, in their brains, they're locked into a state where they're not going to be able to compete, certainly not in the digital economy. And I would argue that in some countries, the percentage of children who are stunted will be the source of instability in those societies in times to come, because everyone's going to get access to broadband. Everyone's going to know how everyone else lives, and those children who are stunted and had terrible educations will be sitting there saying, why can't I participate?
And then any mention of corruption, which is, of course, a major concern for us here in South Africa and other African countries.
Very much so, Shahan. He stated very clear, saying, look, this is a challenge wherever the World Bank is working. It comes across as a massive challenge, but also saying in its very nature, corruption tends to be very systematic. And obviously we know that it starts right at the top and is able just to go all the way down. So he spoke at length about how countries should be very pragmatic about how they try, for example, to initiate strategies that will be able to combat corruption, because the people who are just bearing the brunt of this particular phenomenon are the poor people who are deprived of the services.
All right, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it.